way we work is changing. Salespeople drop the ball on things all the time. They have the biggest distraction, the largest distraction, and that's chasing commission. So when it comes to any sort of admin work that falls in the gray area of, hey, customer support should be fulfilling this, but they may not have a great overlap of where does customer support pick up the ball. This comes to internal operation. You bring on a new rep, they're 6 months in. You want to build trust in them. You want to motivate them to grow. And I do believe in development within the company, but it's disappointing whenever they don't see how to motivate themselves. It trickles down to personal problems.
An employee between $6,000 and $14,000 every time an employee either gets terminated, they quit, or they just quit showing up. Because now you got to recruit, you got to find, you got to hire, you got to interview, you got to train. There's real costs associated with that.
To supply a solution that picks up that human element and makes our success more feasible, that is a great solution. And that is exactly where I look to plug in AI.
I think it's interesting that we've kind of come together on this to some degree where it's like we can essentially solve both.
Yeah.
Right? Service staff, account managers, customer service reps. Some of them that were doing commercial insurance, between 40 and 50% of their book was commercial insurance. They were spending 40% of their work week dealing with exactly what we've developed.
All right, Austin here, CEO of Revive, and my good friend Mike here.
Yep.
Mike is in the financial premium finance service. He runs insurance into the tech that they need to close the deals. So you drove in today from Lakeland. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I looked for some podcasts here, podcast studios in Lakeland.
Yeah.
But there wasn't much out there.
Yeah, I think there's a couple. It's one of those things where you just kind of, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for being here. I think this is hopefully the first of many.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we know, we have a mutual friend, Bryce.
Yeah.
He is the chatty Cathy, the salesman that we all love.
Yeah.
And maybe takes up too much time on the phone. But we love to hear from him. It's a great break in the day. Some days I'll give him a shout just to break my day up and, chop it up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
But
he told me that he's like, look, I promise you'll at least have one viewer of this podcast today. So we know that we've got at least that.
And it'll be him.
It's going to be him.
Yeah. So we connected through him. Revive is a AI sales operating system. It helps B2B companies in a specific model. We use it we create all of our technology to be used internal and to be provided to our customers.
Yeah.
And so a little bit of backstory on why Revive even became a thing. I've worked for family companies since 9. I'm too big of a guy to not be thrown in construction. That was our family. That was our family.
Muscle.
Yeah, it was muscle. And our family business was construction. So instead of daycare, we went into construction. We started working early.
Nice.
My father was not the great salesman. He operated on referrals from the network that my grandfather created.
Okay.
And so a little bit of back end on the origin story, I guess we can get kicked off, is I've always worked for family companies. After I worked for him in construction, I was kind of his right-hand man. We did a lot of planning. My brothers and I, we would go to job sites to kind of make sure everything was good. But obviously, I was kind of the grunt at that young age.
Yeah.
And then one year, I broke my leg, worked my first whole summer at 13, lost 35 pounds. Working within 4 months. I had so much energy, I would go and play basketball after I got done working.
Yeah.
And so they were long days because you just started the day. There wasn't much breakfast. And then you would have a sandwich at lunch.
Yeah.
And then, mom's cooking at night.
That's right.
So that was my origin. Then I worked for my grandmother at her pharmacy. That was my first real taste of customer service. I was the young gun, and she put me into pharmacy training. So when you're working in a pharmacy, you can be a tech in training and still be allowed to operate within the pharmacy.
Okay.
And so throughout the day, I was helping restock, and I was taking a lot of calls, angry patients. And there was this one Asian guy, Romy, and Romy would send all the angry patients to me. And that was my first understanding of the like person to person, I can call it like interface, I guess.
Yeah.
But the person to person conversation and settling and growing some rapport in a not so great, like a tense situation.
Right.
And
Just
so
being thrown right into it. How am I going to solve this problem? How am I going to calm them down? Keep them a customer.
calm them down. So sorry, admit that it was our fault, and then lean into, hey, this is how we can move. And I'm going to put you at the very top of our to-do list.
Yep.
And you'll receive your meds for your child that is sick at the moment. Because there's no worse customer than an angry mother when she just found out her child is sick.
Sure. Yeah.
So dealing with that situation was a little bit more tense. And then moving into being kind of the black sheep, going into engineering school, and then coming back, starting my own manufacturing agency, learning to automate that, and then realizing to be a technical leader and handle the sales when it's difficult to trust a salesperson with the technical knowledge that it takes to, let's say, like, impress, carry a conversation, understand.
Yep.
That was tough, right?
Yeah.
So I started automating a lot of my back end, working with my vendors. And then I realized that I needed sales, understood how to work with sales, automate that. And then Revive was born. And it's really just this big plot. I mean, we're all entrepreneurs. We all want to grow our empire, our kingdom, so to speak. And so this was my first stop at creating a tech that we could use to build that and then provide to others.
Yeah.
So that, and I called it Revive. So
I love it. And I think that's kind of what brought us here, right? Is because you're integrating tech in a meaningful way, real tech, into an industry that is in most industries, one that are somewhat nervous to embrace it. It's the shiny thing we say at our office all the time. No one's going to sit across from the desk from us and tell us that they suck.
Yeah.
So there's some trust that goes into it, and especially with, I get a million emails a day in my box talking about how it's this new tech, it's a shiny thing, it's going to do this, do that. But and I've gone through the process of doing some of these demos and look into it. I'm just like, this is not, and it's refreshing to find a company and build a relationship with, obviously Revive and you, where it's actual tech that you all have developed that's being deployed that makes companies and agencies more efficient. Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I totally get the piece too, where it's, when you start it, you can't do sales and build a company, right?
Yes.
So you got to focus over here on building the company or hiring salespeople, which is the amount of time that goes into that, the training, the interview process, making sure they understand the tone, the vibe, the culture, the product. That takes so much time for companies that pipeline starts going down, right? If you're one of the main earners of a company, especially if it's a new company. So yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah.
It allows people to focus on the product, which allows you to fulfill quality that you promise, but also continue to build your business, because you can't keep the lights on if there's no money coming in.
That's right.
So that's why we created it.
And it's about getting hits, right? Getting meetings, getting it booked.
Just increasing opportunities as much as possible.
Yeah.
There's a whole other side of that as to where those opportunities come from, those leads come from. There are databases where you can pull that are cold, but where AI has moved into is providing more ability to look into intent-based leads. So you're not just pulling from a database. Just because you're the COO of Everglades, you may not pop up on our radar because certain actions that you take across the internet and social media doesn't align with the ICP that goes more in depth now of saying, hey, we see a struggle. For instance, you comment on Reddit, you're complaining about how do I, effectively decrease my churn rate or increase my retention of my sales team, or how do I create more sales from thin air? My advertising isn't effective. Are we in the wrong market? Are we looking at the wrong demographics, X, Y, and Z? And so that's a whole other side of it that we don't speak of too much, at least on the front end. But we're realizing that needs to come in more to tenfold into the picture, because companies not only need a way to effectively sell, but also need a way to effectively target those leads.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the other side of it. But
Yeah, 100%.
yeah.
I see it too, where it's, companies, you need advisors, right? From every aspect of it. Not just a typical financial advisor, legal, accounting, stuff like that, but you need people that are experts in their field that can help you be better at what you do, because we don't all do everything.
Yeah.
Right. But being able to actually deploy it, help control what the messaging is, what the brand is to some extent, speaking to those points to the ideal client profile, it's massive.
Yeah.
We've talked to a lot of companies that have struggled with that, and they want to do it on their own. Typically, it's less expensive to do it on your own, they think, right? But until you actually get into the costs associated with trying to develop certain processes and sales processes, and does it work? And then questioning it 3-4 months in, like, do we shift, or maybe we just haven't given enough time? It's just lighting money on fire.
Yeah. And that's a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
And that's not something to transition away from Reviving into Everglades. Yeah. That is a fear that is extinguished, so to speak, with Everglades.
Yeah.
Because I do love the name Everglades. I'm Florida born.
Yep. Same.
I've never actually been to the Everglades, but you're a tech company.
Yep.
On the inside. And that's what changes the game from all these agencies depending on their lenders to come through with a competitive rate and the time frame that they need to carry the deal, because money loves speed. And your company develops a tech that not only creates a competitive rate, but also provides a trusted, timely rate as well.
That's right. Yeah.
So can you walk me through how that developed?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So our CEO and co-founder, Jeremy Wharton, he was a client of mine a long time ago. So I actually come from the retail insurance space.
Okay.
Commercial producer by trade, mom and pop, regional, national agencies. And I learned a lot. And at the end of the day, everyone, they sell insurance, right? But you also need the advisors and then the partners to help you transact some of the items that come up within the agency. So Jeremy was a client of mine, and we ended up wanting to do something together. And we kicked around getting some Amazon vans and putting, a couple of our cousins in them to drive, and just a little, side revenue, side hustle deal.
Yeah.
And then we were like, why don't we, do something together? So he had a safety and compliance company. I was doing commercial insurance, and we looked at kind of rolling those into one another. So when Jeremy told me, yeah, let's go, I was like, oh no. I'm like, okay, can I make this leap? Like I had a book of business. Everything was going great. Kids were young, going to school. And we went down to the Everglades and went fishing. And we took our wives. We had a condo. It was very, very small town. I mean, we went to the general store, and it's like one bottle of ranch, one bottle of ketchup, and the next shipment wasn't coming in for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I remember we were sitting there, and I got a call from my boss at the time, because I still worked for another insurance agency.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, great. And I'm like, hey, look, can we get together on Monday? Like, when you have a conversation. He's like, yeah, no problem. And then Jeremy and I right there decided that we're going to go into business together. And what better place than down in the Everglades on a fishing trip. So that's what we named it, Everglades Financial. And as it turned out, it's, there's some meaning behind it. The mangrove trees, they survive the different things get thrown at them, hurricanes, weather, and stuff like that. And they always stay rooted. So we really try to stay true to those values. We have a deep foundation within the company. I feel like we've hired the right people. So when we were doing that and rolling out of the agency side, right, being that we did commercial insurance and we did a lot of excess and surplus business, which doesn't provide any payment plans, we saw how much work was being put on our staff internally. So being the problem solvers that we are, it's like, how do we get rid of this? And so we hired in-house tech dev and had them build a tech platform that removes all of that stuff. So now, everything from invoicing out for pay in full payments, premium financing, down payments, getting contracts signed, funding brokers, we take care of all of it. And that's really what interested me about you guys too, is because you're providing tech that is doing what tech should do, right? It removes inefficiencies within businesses, allows companies to do what they're good at, right? To grow and scale. That's kind of how we look at That's what we feel like we're doing for these agencies out there, is helping them put their team back on client engagement, revenue generating activities. So it's been interesting, kind of shifting from one side where we were, our prospects were business owners and individuals to do their insurance. And now we work specifically with insurance retail agents across the country.
And then that's really what a company should do, is focus on the solution or the problem that their clients have, and then build that internally. It helped you. It helped you operate, right? Which I imagine increases the culture, benefits the culture, makes your employees happier to come in and work for you. And at the end of the day, business is all about people, whether it's inside the office or the people that you interact with through either your vendors or your customers.
That's right.
So the symbolism of Everglades being rooted in your solidarity in the market from all of your experience, the symbolism is beautiful, but
thanks.
The track of where you're progressing, first of all, you embrace technology, which is coming from an engineering, a mechanical engineering background, can be challenging in itself. It's a bit of a mindset shift.
Yeah.
And it's a different management style as well. But to take that leap, to not only say, hey, I want to provide a more effective product, but also to take on that challenge, because it's something that racks your brain throughout the day.
Yeah.
Operating a business, and you go home, you have a family.
Yep.
But you have to, nurture your loved ones. You have a whole family that depends on you as well. I mean, you have a family. I'm luckily single enough while I build the beginning of everything that I'm building.
Yeah.
But you have more years on me.
Yeah.
In the entrepreneurial space. So I'm still developing those key, like patience and all of those intricacies that can kind of play games within us. But to get back to what I was trying to say before, is Everglades Financial is deeply rooted. You have a great culture, but it shows more that you took on the challenge, and it is a true challenge. I don't care what anybody says. All of this vibe coding, AI, making software seem so easy to create. It's BS.
Yeah.
It's total BS.
Yep.
To go on that endeavor to simply support your customers in a better fashion is noble.
Yeah.
And it's something that should be appreciated more. But clients, prospects, they don't understand that in the pitch.
Right.
Right. They're only looking for, hey, how does this benefit me?
Yep.
The second layer is, what does this company stand for? And unfortunately, that's something that isn't understood earlier on in the engagement.
Yep.
But I think that if more buyers, more clients took the time to read and feel out the company first before like writing them off or whatever it may be, I think that would be a lot more fruitful to both sides, because it goes back to the idea of, hey, what can I learn from this company?
Right.
Like I've spoken with I have friends out in LA who have, worked with investors, and Revive is completely bootstrapped.
Yep.
They work with investors and it's predatory terms, right? And so they've been screwed out. I've been, for about a year and a half, I was a advisor for this company called startups.com.
Okay.
They're based out of, I believe they're based out of North California, some in Canada. But they would prep all these companies, all these, founders that are just, blood, sweat, and tears to get their idea up off the ground. And then they would run into these investors, right? Say, hey, I have this money. It seems like a good idea. But at the end of the day, they look at it as people, hey, what can I get from this person if I give them $1 million, 10 million, whatever it may be? But I never went that route because it was predatory. If I have an investor, I want them to have connections and have the know-how that I have, where my gaps are or where my team's gaps are. And what you're providing to your clients and what I provide to my clients at the end of the day is covering those gaps.
Yeah.
And that goes beyond financial responsibility or whatever it may be.
Right.
So whenever we go on a call, I can't speak with all of my clients all the time, but my employees also, it trickles down to them. It's what goes beyond the dollar.
Yep.
I guess. What does that interface look like? Because whenever you sign on with a company, a software company, it's okay, sign on, here's your account, good luck with customer service.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yep.
But when you have employees and clients that whenever they speak with you or they speak amongst each other and they're sharing more ideas or advice, it goes beyond their work responsibilities or their responsibilities as a vendor. I think it's a slower start because you're not throwing out propaganda.
Right.
But when you have symbolism like Everglades, deeply rooted, we're working towards solutions that provide a true value.
Yep.
It's really what's around for the long term.
Yeah.
So
no, you're right. And there's, it's kind of to your point earlier, there's a trust element to tech, right? Especially when the market is just being flooded with, this is what we do, right?
Yeah.
It's, how do you convince someone that you're actually solving problems with tech without them using the tech?
When they don't understand,
right?
They may not understand it.
And they may not. It may not be in their wheelhouse, right? And it reminds me of early on when we started hiring all of our guys are in-house dev, and we've got a relationship with a university that we intern, we do some capstones, and then we end up hiring the guys and girls. And we when we hired our systems administrator, our main guy, my partner and I are sitting there and we're just like, well, there's a lot of trust here, right? My partner Jeremy says that I can code enough to make the screen pop up and say like "Hello World," right? And this was earlier on. Now we obviously have a deeper understanding of it, but it was a trust. It's like, look, like you're the tech and then we're the business, and we're going to learn from each other and we're going to grow together. And even down to the customer side, there's got to be a trust there. Again, everyone says that they're awesome when they're sitting across from the desk from you, but once you get into it, what does it look like? Which really kind of piqued my interest when, earlier on when we were checking out, Revive, is that I've seen similar platforms, and we actually subscribed to a similar platform, and it was not what we told it was going to be. And now we're in it, right? And it was very choppy, and it kind of puts a bad taste in your mouth. I think a lot of companies out there have experienced that to a degree, which essentially comes back to, what we do. It's like, look, like we are solving problems, and we've got stories on how we've helped clients grow and scale and reduce overhead capital internally because they don't have to go out and hire, a salesperson, depending on comp structure, right? 60 to 150 grand a year plus bonus, reinvest that money into the tech to help streamline, be efficient. Tech doesn't call in sick.
No.
Right.
It's 365. It's great. So that's what a lot of our B2C service providers really love, is because now they can put, we're 24/7 business on their Google business profile.
Yeah.
Right. Like HVAC. You can call in 24/7 and it'll either transfer you to a technician if they have that set up, or they'll send out a notification to that technician, say, hey, which one of you would like to take this job? It's, double commission, or double pay structure, whatever.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so they can get out of bed if anyone wants to take it, and then they can go take that job for that,
go.
like leaving the roof.
Yeah, but, that's awesome.
The biggest thing, we kind of take it like a step-by-step funnel, because I break things down into systems. I'm a nerd, and people don't get that when they first look at me, but I break everything down, and we only deploy agents at very specific times depending on their understanding of their own pipeline.
Yeah.
So those, like Mia is typically the first to be deployed, and that's really only if a company has, let's say, like 10,000, 50,000 leads in their CRM, but they're telling me that, hey, we don't have any business coming in. Right. I don't want to just throw money at ad spend. I'd say, all right, well, what are you doing with the leads that you already have? Well, all those leads I've had for 2+ years, and we don't hear anything from them. They're just names, but that's all of the business development investment that you've put into your company, and it's sitting there. And things change from time to time. Insurance companies, this is where it's most effective, is you can run through that CRM and say, hey, it's been 6 months. Things have changed. Now I would love to just run a new quote for you.
Yep.
And let's see where we are now. And maybe that person also just had a bad experience. Maybe they didn't have Bryce on the phone with them,
Yeah.
chatting them up,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And so it could have just been a less than perfect experience. But not. Do you want to go through the training, the churn of employees just to have a single person dedicated to reaching out to old leads?
Right.
Just the mind, like the idea of that, right? Like
Yeah.
as business owners, no.
Yep.
I don't want to pay somebody $36,000 plus commission, a new salesperson. Maybe they never went to college, but they have the gift of gab maybe, and they're motivated. They're green, but I don't want to hire that person.
Yeah.
In comes Mia, and whether it's text, call, depending on the nature of the leads, we can run 1,800 leads over an AI caller at one time.
Yeah, that's huge.
And so,
That's huge.
they're connected to the tools that your company operates on, so it can bring in that inbound, take in that information, and then they can run that policy, call them back in 10, 15 minutes, however long it takes, and then get back. And that lead that was in your CRM is now activated and bringing you in revenue.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to do anything except bring on the platform.
Yeah.
And
share the data that you've already got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really the most valuable. And when I've gotten to the point now is so many business owners, and especially I come from a service industry background, blue collar, and I've shifted into, I guess, white collar. I'm not much of a labels type of person,
Yeah.
but I'm just, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I don't want to look at it.
Yeah. Right.
So it just comes into, hey, it works, but it has this AI thing on it, and I don't particularly like the way that the guys over at ChatGPT look or whatever, right? I don't like Silicon Valley. I'm not a California guy. I get it, and so that's why we humanize it. And then there's Mia, but that's just an example of how we kind of look at the pipeline for a company and say, hey, this is what you're doing, and this is what we would suggest. It's a consultative approach.
Yeah.
And say, these are the agents that you should deploy. And they say, okay, so you're telling me a computer is going to fix all my problems. Well, first off, it's not cloud. Cloud is a server somewhere in, some strange place. But we've been telling the industry that we wanted this for the last 20 years. Every time you buy a cell phone, every time you buy into the iOS update, it's telling everyone over in California or Tel Aviv or wherever the tech is at that, hey, we want more and more of this.
Yep.
And so the people that I speak with on a daily basis tell these companies, hey, I want this, without them really knowing. And it's kind of like pulling back the veil a little bit and saying, hey, look, it's AI, it's a computer, but we're trying to humanize it as much as possible. So that's where we come in at.
Yeah.
But
yeah, absolutely.
So what does it look like whenever you're like onboarding a client from, hey, I have my lender, right?
Yep.
I've used them for 5-10 years.
Yep.
And so
we've got a 30-year relationship. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that typical process look like? And I imagine the results are nothing less than astounding from what I've heard from Bryce. He loves using you guys. So.
Yeah. Bryce is he's a huge champion of the platform.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting too. And I think what resonated with them was that, one, we're removing the work, right? They don't want to do anything, right? Because the core revenue generation from an insurance agency comes from selling insurance and risk management products, right?
Yeah.
So they want to remove all of the work. And, kind of what was realized is that, a lot of retail agents and their service teams are unwitting employees of some of these premium finance companies, where it's, hey, go get the docs signed, go get the down payment check, make sure you pay your carrier, make sure your insured makes their monthly installments. If they don't, where's the money at?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just kind of the basic stuff that we solve, right? But what really kicked it off with Bryce and another one of guys on his team was that they had a question, or there was either a user error, or a payment went through for a paid in full, but it was a direct bill from a carrier. It's like, hey, look, my bad. Can we get this taken care of? And he called me, and I was on the road, picked up the phone, and we had it solved within an hour. And he's like, this is amazing. And I'm like, what? Because I'm like, okay, one, we obviously have a sense of urgency, right? Got to be customer service. It used to be like, well, it's just expected, right? And it's maybe not focus too much on it. We'll get it taken care of. But we solved that issue within an hour and a half for them. Got the insured refunded. Price was good. And then he's like, this would have taken me 2 weeks with this other provider that I had, which is a large California based startup that raised a bunch of money. It's the new shiny thing. But we take the customer service aspect very seriously. So it was something that was necessarily, it was like something that could have been necessarily a negative, right? Because service is always going to happen.
Yeah.
And we resolved it immediately. And that's what resonated with them. It's like, okay, great. So it was very interesting on that. So we're solving the problem. So we're introducing tech, right, to make companies more efficient, operate, seamlessly, drive revenue, etc.
You save them 2 weeks of time.
2 weeks of
basically.
time, right? Yeah,
in an hour.
In an hour. In an hour, and it's just been it's been interesting to how many people out there just drop the ball on the service side of it.
Oh,
right.
Everywhere.
And it's kind of to your point earlier, it's, we're implementing tech and implementing AI, right? But there's still a human element to it to an extent, right? Because we still do have to service and we are still involved in the process, but the tech does the heavy lift.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been interesting for sure.
So you touch on a really interesting point. The customer service dropping the ball on a few things.
Yeah.
Salespeople drop the ball on things all the time.
Yep.
Because they have the biggest distraction, the largest distraction, and that's chasing commission. So when it comes to any sort of admin work that falls in the gray area of, hey, customer support should be fulfilling this, but they may not have a great overlap of where does customer support pick up the ball, and this comes in internal operations. Sales, same way.
Yep.
And so there is and we support customer service as well. That's what a lot of our AI callers are used for inbound. We call that one Theo. But where do these insurance customer service reps drop the ball? But then where do the salespeople drop the ball as well?
Yeah.
And we're human. I mean,
yep.
Also, you bring on a new rep, they're 6 months in, you want to build trust in them. You want to motivate them to grow.
Yep.
Every single employee we have quarterly discussions. I'm not hey, I want to have one-on-ones with you every week. I don't have time for that. There needs to be a level of ownership in their workflow. But we have those quarterly meetings, and I do believe in development within the company. And so I try to motivate them, but it's disappointing whenever they don't see how to motivate themselves.
Right.
And so they drop a lot of that ball, and it trickles down to personal problems.
Sure.
Psychological, family, whatever it may be.
Everyone's got something going on.
Everybody's got something going on. And to supply a solution that picks up that human element and makes our success more feasible, that is a great solution. And that is exactly where I look to plug in AI.
Yep.
I feel like it's a buzzword now, but sometimes I hate
really
to say
does.
it. Sometimes I do hate to say it. And I like to just use tech because it's essentially just a new tier of tech.
Yeah.
But that's where tech comes in. Is my greatest goal is to, one, keep the lights on and help companies grow the same way I want to grow my empire. And I also want sales reps and customer service reps to have a better personal life.
Yeah.
To then be able to look at themselves in the mirror, and instead of saying, oh, I hated my job today, say, I had enough space to think about how I can do better.
Right.
Or I can go home and I can have more time with my family.
Sure.
Some of my best friends are in sales from agency sales to like big tech. One of my closest friends, who's actually had a large amount of input into the build, works for one of the biggest CX tech companies for call centers.
Okay.
And so he's president's list, X, Y, and Z. Great guy. I've known him since we became best friends from freshman year of college, building a robot together.
Okay.
One of the few coding skills I developed when I was in college.
Yeah.
And a lot of his input goes into how this was built out. And I've seen the mental struggle on a daily basis. And it depends on your manager, but also depends on, hey, how am I going to put money on the table or food on the table for my family
Right.
through these commissions? And that is the relief that I started all of this.
Yeah.
Revive, because
I
can take whatever pressure that I want, but I decided to go on this journey. I decided to start a business and go in and do this myself. I mean, my whole family has owned their own business for as long as I can remember, from my grandfather moving from Missouri down to Florida, he was a farmer in Missouri, started construction in Florida because farming didn't work out for him here for whatever reason. And then all of my uncles have been in construction, had their own. My father had his own company, X, Y, and Z. But to relieve a little bit, a majority of that struggle that our sales team sees, that is responsible for the growth and sustainability of our companies, that's what spawned everything that is Revive. And that's why Revive is called Revive, because it revives our daily lives on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. So
I love it. I love it. It's interesting too, because, we say activity breeds results, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of different groups out there that are trying to provide, structured, how do you attack sales, right? Like, how do you build it out? Like, what's the process? I don't necessarily think that there's one science out there outside of the generating the activity, right? From, reaching out, calls, texting, emails, networking, right? To some degree, bringing in that human element to it on the back end, where that generates relationships, and knowing that it's consistently going to reach out, it's going to hit, that helps the service people. I mean, people in sales, they're either going to be very busy with closing business, which will also, I believe benefit the home life, right? Because now there's absolutely. Like, okay, this is great. So my efforts are paying off. Yeah. Sales is very hard too, because you got to deal with the, the ebbs and flows of it, and the peaks and valleys. It's kind of like, okay, pipeline's dried up. Like, what are we doing? Like, let's dust off the old list and let's cycle back through it. Yep. But being able to and this is what I think is very interesting about Revive, is being able to provide that consistent outreach, follow up, helping book appointments. That helps the producers, right? Regardless of what industry you're in. In this example, like insurance agencies. On the customer service side, right? Yeah. The idea should be that producers, salespeople are not doing service work. And I think a lot of companies have a very hard time having a solid cutoff on that. It's like, no, it's huge. You do revenue generating activity. That's it. That's right. All. That's it. Yeah. But it's very hard though, right? Especially when you're dealing with turnover. Turnover is very expensive for organizations. I think on average, it costs a company for an employee between $6,000 and $14,000 every time an employee either gets terminated, they quit, or they just quit showing up. Because now you got to recruit, you got to find, you got to hire, you got to interview, you got to train. There's real costs associated with that. But if I see this a lot with companies where there's no delineation between the two, right? Outbound activity to generate revenue, and then the service side of it. Yeah. So I think it's interesting that we've kind of come together on this to some degree, where it's like we can essentially solve both. Yeah. Right. Because you're on the fulfillment side. We're on the fulfillment side. 2 weeks to 1 hour. You're on the generation side. Yeah. It's like, it's crazy when we looked at it, because dealing with from, manually creating invoices to pay an insurance policy in full, to doing the same for down payment, getting the doc signed, you have to generate, follow-up activities to make sure that these items got done. And then the way that the accounting flows back into the company. Yes. We did a nationwide research study where we reached out and polled like 1,200 insurance agencies. Okay. And what came back was that the service staff, account managers, customer service reps, pick the title, right? Some of them that were doing commercial insurance, between 40 and 50% of their book was commercial insurance. they were spending 40% of their work week dealing with exactly what we've developed the tech to pull off.
Mm-hmm.
So just that manual input. So
Mm-hmm.
you're able to get sales focused, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just constant 24/7. Let's go. Let's book calls,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're also able to come in and remove all of that non-revenue generating activity, which now allows them to be more of a support role for the sales team,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe account round, more client engagement. Just it kind of all comes together in a way where it truly makes it makes an agency more efficient, makes a company more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, let's get surgical on it,
Yeah.
but bring the right people in, right? You've got to have the right partners
Mm-hmm.
to do something like that, in my opinion. Right?
I know, I agree, and and this is just a personal, the way I see it personally, studying all this and what we do, coming from working construction, working in a pharmacy, working at Fortune, whatever. I worked at GM, and I was in that corporate cog wheel for a while. I was in automotive industry for Chrysler and GM I was in that supply chain with it for like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And just seeing how they operate, seeing how these small companies operate. There's an idea of the 80-20 rule that operates in that dynamic is we spend 80% of our time dealing with all this admin work, overlap, honestly, just the day-to-day of trying to determine where to put our focus at, pulling from here, pushing from there, and 20% of the time to let's strategy, let's talk with our vendors, our customers, to kind of peel back that curtain, figure out the right way forward.
Right.
To now we can have 20% of the time managing tools, managing tech like yours and ours, and 80% of the time revenue generating activities, X, Y, and Z. And so that's where we're going to see for the next 5 years of companies that adopt new solutions and then also start to change how they operate internally, because that's what's going to be most competitive in the workspace.
Absolutely.
So
it's almost an adopt or die type situation.
I believe so. I do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can take that term adopt or die, and you can either embrace it or you can be defensive.
Yeah.
And there's like a very firm principle that I had to adopt probably 3 years ago is you can't be pig-headed when you're adjusting in a time like this, because we are living in a technology revolution, I guess I would say. It's a new renaissance. It's just like the manufacturing production line or the steam engine, is the way we work is changing.
Yep.
And there are going to be those who don't change it if it's not broke.
Yep.
Or do I look at what the flip side of this, and that's going to come with some pain. That's going to come with adapting. That's going to come with investment. And it's one of those things that I think, and this sounds terrible to say, might be unpopular opinion, but it's going to weed out this entrepreneurial flood that we have. It takes next to nothing to start a company and create a website.
Yep.
And so you have all these bad actors that pop out into place. And sometimes those bad actors can be really close friends with investors and start a company in California and say that they have the latest and greatest, but their back end looks like shit.
Yeah.
So
we saw that actually with some of these companies that came out, and they went to market way too soon.
Yeah.
And they were just, here's this idea, this is what we do, and it's kind of like, great, let's do that. And it's like, whoa, what are we doing?
And there's a way to do that without dropping the customer success. Yeah.
Right. You got to manage it correctly.
You have to manage expectations.
That's right.
There's nothing wrong if you have investment, you have capital. There's nothing wrong with hiring a small sales team and running what is it called? Customer research.
Yep.
You have these very valuable conversions or conversations, to say, hey, I'm not trying to sell you anything, but I'm in the business of trying to help you. If I could get 15 minutes of your time, I just want to ask you a couple questions. I need at least 100 people to understand the best direction for our company. And if you'd like, I could put you on the wait list so you can get a discount on our services
right.
whenever
Yep.
we're ready for deploy.
Yeah.
And so
it's like
that
the iPhone they start pushing the new iPhone out, 6 months ahead of time?
Yeah.
We've got this new cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you don't bring people on just because you're trying to make revenue ASAP. Some of the most experienced business people that I know have seen significant debt, but had a plan to get out.
Yeah.
And I've seen that very early on. I've racked up almost what I thought at the time was insurmountable credit card debt.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just a way to pull yourself out of that once you finally get to the point and just knowing like, hey, I know this will work.
Yep.
I just need to get through this.
Yeah.
And so that did come with, sleeping 3 to 4 hours a night because that just sucked.
Right.
But
right. Yeah. Absolutely.
But I think that's something that a lot of these entrepreneurs that have connections to large capital, and large capital can burn something because they can just write it off, whatever.
Yep.
And that is a core problem at tech like yours.
Yeah.
And it's flooding the marketplace. So whenever I have the or somebody has the time to discuss, hey, let me speak with you about the solution, they're muddled, right? Like,
Yeah.
I've heard your BS before.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have time for this.
Yep.
Right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's really the core struggle, because once it's realized, the struggle that we have is I can't give you a free trial,
right?
Because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's going to tarnish.
It takes time.
It's going to tarnish. Well, we have to do the prompts. We have to train. We have to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, because you guys get very surgical with it.
It's
right. Industry specific, ideal client profile.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
And then we set up everything for deliverability. If you are on B2B, the email deliverability is huge. And so it helps because every email that we craft is it's custom.
Yeah.
We have a few different frameworks that we test out in the early days. And then once we figure that out, as we come on through the months, that's where that double your meetings in 45 days, or we extend for free, comes in.
Yeah.
It helps our deliverability because we understand cold email infrastructure and we built that all out. But having every email be unique, that also helps with your deliverability.
Yeah, I could see that.
So that's been a huge help. But I just went on a rant. I started talking about this stuff and I forget where I'm going.
No, you're good. You're obviously very passionate about it, and it's interesting. We run into situations where, specifically in the premium financing tech industry, mm-hmm. Premium financing has been around since the 70s, and you can Google every premium finance company. If you can't sleep at night, I encourage you to do this. They will all tell you that they've got tech. Yeah. And the tech features that they have are DocuSign and electronic signature and electronic payment links, and that's pretty much it. So what we, something that we experienced very on, and we grew from it, was okay, well, the tech will overcome, some of these other things. We're new brain recognition, right? Yeah. And we were also bootstrapped, right? So it was, how do we overcome some of these things, right? Mm-hmm. And, it was interesting because we'd get on a call, and the premium financing industry has gotten so creative on because we can actually incentivize, right, in the states mm-hmm. where it's allowed, which is very different from the other side, from the agent side, because you're not allowed to, right?
Okay. Incentivize how? So
we're able to provide revenue share, right? So it kind of goes back to the insurance agencies or unwitting employees, other premium finance company. Mm-hmm. Other premium finance companies can share revenue just like we do, right? But it's based on how much work they're doing for us, how much the overall amount of revenue they're generating from premium financing for us. Mm-hmm. We'll give them a piece, right? Gotcha. And it makes sense outside of Everglades Financial, because these other ones they're doing the work for the premium finance company. Mm-hmm. It's the go get the agreement signed, go get the money, pay the brokers, make sure they don't miss a payment, and they'll hold them accountable if they don't, right? Yeah. But what's interesting with us is that we've created a platform where you're not an unwitting employee. So we're going to take all of your payments. All the payments come directly to us. We fund your broker and carrier. So you don't have to move money around, trust accounting and operating accounting, and figure out how does this broker want to get paid for this specific account.
Gotcha.
So we'll remove all the work, right?
Yeah.
We've got extremely competitive rates. We're currently generating loans in like 44 states, and we'll also pay you, right? Yeah. So then it's like, to me, I'm like, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right. But we're also still combating, and I understand relationships and I respect that. Right. But when you really look at it, and it kind of goes back to your comment of it's easier to do nothing. Right. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But how close are you looking at your operations? Right. Like, do you know how much time is being spent on non-revenue generating activity? We had a conversation with a group out of the Northeast recently, and they just sold to a larger group, and they had some autonomy.
Yeah. And
they were with a very popular premium finance company. We've actually used them before we started Everglades, when we had our agency. And they get their earnout is based on increasing EBITDA. Right. So I'm like, okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
So we can help you with that. He's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, we've got a great, I can call my guy, he brings me Publix cookies every 4 weeks with their sticker on it. I'm like, that's great. I'll send you cookies if you want.
Yeah.
Right. But this is what we could do for you. Right. If you want to increase revenue, increase EBITDA, reduce the overall head count in the agency potentially. Right. We do that for free. There's no cost to use us. This is what we do. We make money from financing insurance premiums. So it's interesting, because I'm like, look, how many staff do you have that are doing these 5 activities every day? And they're like 30 people. And I'm like, okay. So if we took away 40% of what they're doing throughout the week, we did that for you. And now they're focused on account rounding and client engagement and being in a more direct revenue supporting role for the sales team. Would that increase EBITDA? And they're like, yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Put them on Revive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We've got a solution for all of it. You know? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, is your current provider doing that? And they're just like, no. And I'm like, okay. So we'll see what comes of that conversation. But the mentality was very much if it's not broke, don't fix it. Here we are. But it's exciting to see that there are, companies out there that are truly embracing AI, and it is actually AI, right? And it's not just called AI, which we see a lot of that.
Yeah, there's a ton. Yeah.
But and to your point earlier, it's kind of a adopt or die. There's also one that I use too. It's like evolve or dissolve. Right? Like you're going to have to embrace it with the new generations of workforce coming into play. Even though we are working in our clients are in industries that are hundreds and hundreds of years old, you've got to shift how you think about doing business these days. And you have to have the right partners and actually utilize tech that delivers. And there's a trust element to tech, right? Like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But have the conversations. Like, don't just shut it out because you're not sure of it, or you're nervous about it, or this is how we've always done it and this is great. That might be the thing. But if you're serious about growing your business, whether you're looking to sell, scale, expand, or if it's generational, you're going to hand it down to your children one day, you have to think like this, right? How do we change it up?
It's like, it's 2 ways when I speak about that industrial revolution, this technology revolution. It's like trying to transport goods across the country without a railroad.
Right.
How did that train initially come into play?
Yep.
The steam engine.
That's right.
How are you going to manufacture 100,000 units, 100,000 vehicles a year?
Yeah.
Of a very specific trim without a production line? You're going to do it hand by hand?
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
And so it's these micro activities that we're automating that's going to allow companies to go from transporting across the state in, I don't know, by a horse and a wheel-drawn carriage for however many months a year.
That's right.
To shipping it across the country in, a few days, depending on your checkpoints.
Yeah.
So it really is the same exact story, but it's the best thing about it is it's all in-house.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
we're jumping from one workflow node, so to speak, to the next workflow, or what does that customer's profile looks like? What does that need? And the best thing about the tech that we use is it can learn in its own stage. It doesn't need to have a human review at every element.
Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
it can learn in its own stage because you and I have both talked about, we both have AI, ML inclined support on our internal teams.
Yep.
So that's the most beautiful part about this is it doesn't need a human review, and that human has to be trained. It needs tenure to understand how to do its job effectively.
Yep.
I can input, if we can both input an algorithm that understands not only best business practices globally, but how would you prefer to have that handled?
Right.
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 How would you prefer to engage with that customer? What do you want that pitch to be? What does the follow-up look like? We have best practices just like you have best practices.
Yep.
But it's how do we want to operate our companies without having to worry about retention, without having to worry about poor customer service and dropping the ball on market qualified leads, cold leads.
Yep.
Do we want an autopilot, so to speak? The one thing that we're working towards is creating what is the ultimate salesperson look like for whichever industry that may be at whatever level.
Yep. So
when we break it down, a friend of mine who is in a friend of mine that I told you we've been good friends. That's 2011. We're 2025 now, so 14 years. He comes to all my family stuff. I go to all of his family stuff.
Yeah.
He's in software. So software has the most ideal and organized structure of a sales team there is. There's the SDR, sales development rep, the grunt, and then you have the business account, like business development account representative, and then you have your senior account representative, and then you have your sales engineers or your like technical experts, so to speak. And so basically we follow that structure of the huge funnel, like the huge, like that inlet is, it's almost flat, right? If you're looking at it as far as a funnel, and those SDRs, they grind them to a halt. They typically work anywhere from 250 to 500 leads a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes they continue that into the next week, but they're calling, they're emailing, they're flirting. I call it flirting on LinkedIn. You're like going on their profile, this and that, yada, yada, yada.
Kind of like something or comment or share.
Or just show up on their profile because, and like on your LinkedIn, you'll have that automatic setting of, I don't get notifications when somebody likes or comments on my profile. I don't know why. I just never touched that preset.
Yeah.
But I do see when somebody viewed my profile.
Yeah.
Or when I get whatever those like paid pushes to my notifications are.
Sure.
And so what we do is it sends an email. It sends you notifications to call. It reviews or it goes on their profile. If you're not followed and connected with them, it does that automatically, and it does it scheduledly. So it'll send another email. It goes through that like kind of sequence of send that personalized email, follow and connect with them, send another email, notification to call, go view the profile, X, Y, and Z. And that's the like realm of awareness that we try to build on the B2B side.
Yeah.
And so we pick that apart, and that's how we get like higher conversion rates from these higher intent leads.
I mean, it makes sense, right? It's activities breeding results.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, in that amount of touches to consistently do that with targeted prospects.
Yeah.
It's
the only thing that limits
difficult.
you.
There's legit salesmen and women out there, right, that have built big books of business. But I think also the relationship aspect has changed somewhat as far as getting that initial, like, let's lock it in, let's lock it down.
Yeah.
Right. It takes a lot. And, I've read about this before where it's like, and everyone's got their own opinion on it. It's like, oh, you need at least 3 touches. You need 5 touches. You need this amount of touches.
That's like, BS. 21 touches to reach out to a sophisticated buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you got to break through the noise. Right. And I really like the fact too, where it's personalized and customized too, to the companies that you work with, because every founder has their own idea of how they want to reach out, right?
Yeah.
Like, how aggressive are we? Do we pull back? What's the messaging? What's the tone? Like, to your point earlier, I think that's a huge differentiator, just from what I've seen from some of the tech platforms that we've brought on in the past that we no longer use, because we didn't really have that customization. It's a box. It's like, hey, hit play, and that's just what it is.
Which business doesn't work that way.
No.
I don't care who you are.
No, it doesn't. And then there's also so many different types of people out there, personalities, like what's going to trigger this person, right? Some may be a text, some may be a phone call, some may be an email, some may be the LinkedIn. I've seen it in my career of sales too, where it's kind of like, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense, right? It's like, oh, hey, I just emailed and called and followed up with this person,
and I never heard back.
But they've liked stuff on my LinkedIn for the past week, and then I'll call them and try to follow up, and it's like just completely ghost. And I'm just like, let's shift over to LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, or shift over, or just give them a call next week, because that person, you don't know, we all have our own life going on. They could have been going through something last week, or maybe they're in-house as business,
or they're buried, or they're out of town, or,
Yeah. And so, we put the best impression possible, because when they see us kind of jumping around their LinkedIn, X, Y, and Z, and they remind and say, hey, I had an email, and they receive this email it's not the same framework with just a couple of variable dynamics. The entire message is completely like custom.
Yeah.
It researches the person's LinkedIn profile, the company's LinkedIn profile, and then also Googles the company.
Yeah.
And so it puts all that in a very specific and proven framework for email. And so that's that first touch of saying, hey, what typically takes an SDR 15, 20 minutes to do, it does that in 40 seconds.
Right. And that's not even considering how long it takes an actual person in the sales seat to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so there was a study that went out in 2023. The U.S. spent, it was to the tune of $25 billion to train their sales team. Around 25% of that retention rate was lost. Yeah. So they essentially lost, like, the number is sticking with me right now. I'm trying to remember, but it was about $7 billion in lost capital from salespeople that got burnt out and quit, or just went to a new job after a year.
Yep.
And to me, that's a huge issue.
Yeah, it is. I've seen also too, through some of the sales programs that I've been through. I've been some that I consider great. I've been through some that are just absolute like crap, right? And the biggest thing that I've noticed too is, and this ties into tech, right? So agencies that I've worked for send you to training, right? Again, some great, some not so great. And they'll implement new tech because the sales team's like, oh, we need this new thing. Like, this is going to help us be so much more efficient.
This is why we couldn't accomplish those goals last quarter.
Right. Yeah. Right. Meanwhile, it's you're on a golf course, melting the company credit card with an unqualified lead that will never buy from you.
Yeah.
Right. And I've been there too early in my career. I'm kind of like, this guy's going to, I don't know. But, going through that piece of it, and then how that's tying into the service side of it is just, it's just such a delicate ecosphere, right? Like, the balance between the two of those items is just, it's crazy.
Yeah. And all we want to do is set the podium. That's what the SDR's job is. Set the podium for the account representative, the account manager, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Step number 2, to have that conversation and qualification of where are you really struggling and what do you really care about.
Yep.
If you're struggling with this issue but you don't care about it, okay, maybe that's next year conversation.
Right.
Maybe we go out to the course next year.
Right.
But if you're struggling with it right now, and that conversation kind of unveiled that, and you have a more serious talk they have a more serious talk with their internal team, and in 2 weeks they say, hey, actually this is a really big issue.
Yep.
Let's visit what your solution is.
Yeah.
And so depending on the timeline, depending on the industry, you're having a deal close within like a few months, or could be in manufacturing was like the typical timeline is like 18 months. So I knew I had no choice but to figure something out before I started Revive.
Yeah.
But it's a big issue, like how you have that song and dance. And again, you have to trust your salespeople to make the appropriate calls.
Right.
You have to trust your sales manager to be on top of those people.
Right.
And so And on the flip side of that, you have these SDRs that are just grinded to a pulp,
Yeah.
and maybe they have college education, maybe not.
Yeah.
But you're trusting that podium lift to your business development rep with someone who's grinded to a pulp and maybe was great in the interviews, but may not be performing or have like the most motivation to listen to sales mindset and like sales training on a day-to-day basis.
Right. Exactly.
The SDR type of like deep dive that we jumped into when we made Eli. Eli is our AI SDR.
Okay.
For B2B services, B2B companies. You were right about the 40%. It was like 44% of time is spent on admin tasks for them. There was my mind just went off when I jump into those rants. Yeah, it kind of like catches me and goes, but it'll come back to me later. But I think a lot of companies should look at the model of having an SDR to the BDR like lift. Okay, the stat that I remember now was for every like 4 great front end salespeople, you'll hire about 25 salespeople.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so how does a growing company deal with that?
Yeah.
Because you have training, you have HR.
Yep.
And if you're a SMB, making $1 million to $50 million, whatever that may be, you're stage 1 or 2. I don't know if you're familiar with EOS, like architecture or business structure, EOS. They qualify companies in stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think it tops out at 4, but it's like a consulting thing. But
got it. Yeah.
But yeah, how do you hire 25 people? It's a full-time job to train them and then just wait for them to fall out, and your company depends on growth based on 4 people out of that 25. Right. That's a nightmare. Or just take on the debt and trust that eventually somebody's going to come through for you.
Right. So I previously went on a little rant too and forgot where I was going with it.
Yeah.
But I'm back. The
cool.
different training programs that I've been sent through, right?
Yeah.
Like these national programs. And also, agencies that I've worked for where they've brought on new tech. I always remember it was 1 or 2 situations.
Okay.
One, they send you off to this program. It's 7 days, pick a city, whatever. You go through it, you come back, and then you're all pumped up, right? As a sales guy, you're just like, let's go.
Yep.
I've got my perfect schedule for the week. I'm going to hit. I'm changing the conversation up. Mm-hmm. And it dies out because you immediately end up back into the shit.
Yeah.
Right? So you're back in the fire.
Nothing changed from before that training. It's life as usual. Your clients, your prospects don't know anything about that.
Yeah. And it's the same with some of the tech that gets rolled out. And actually, I worked for an agency where I learned a lot about like middle market commercial insurance, captives, things like that. Mm-hmm. Very complex commercial insurance where our CEO at that company would say, all right, I'm going to give this to you guys, right? But our IT department is going to be checking if this is being fully utilized to what you as the sales team told me that you needed. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, it's gone.
Yeah.
Guess what? 90 days in, credentials don't work. It's like I told you. But we see so much of that. And even to the training standpoint, like who's going to continue that after you get back from the training event or the training conference, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. There's just so much goes into it where, again, you don't have to rely on that, and you don't have to, be a principal of an agency or in a sales executive role of an insurance agency or any other company where you're wondering, like, is the team hitting where I need them to hit?
Are they using this tool that they just begged me to use?
Right. And then even them thinking like, okay, well, now my boss is going to be looking at me like, hey, look, what you told me, like, how come we're not hitting the metrics? Like, what is it? Like, do you create an environment that's so micromanaged that you're just verifying everything, tracking calls and listening in and email? Like, there's companies that are tracking mouse movement. Yeah. Well, that's not an employee problem. That's a culture problem, right?
Yep.
So why not let tech, full circle, right?
Why not
let tech do the heavy lift? agency owners, company owners are involved in the process,
Mhm.
can see the metrics like any business person looks at, right?
Mhm.
Like, what are we hitting? Or are we not?
Typically within the first few
You
weeks.
know, that's crazy.
And don't
Yeah.
just point to me either, because my biggest issue is, okay, there's a buy-in, right?
Right.
But there's an investment on the front end.
You gotta put skin in the game.
You say it the best way, and I love the way you say it, is your vendors, your clients, they become employees to Premium Finance.
Yeah.
They spend their time.
Yep.
With Everglades, they're no longer paying their employees to work for their Premium Finance vendor.
Right.
They might get those chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
But
right.
they're still paying. And with you guys, they save money. They have reliable funding.
Yep.
And then they're freed up. The only thing, tell me if you face this. So there's an upskilling aspect to this, like an education aspect with the clients.
Sure.
And they say, okay, this is great, but if it does all this, then what are my salespeople going to do now?
Yeah.
Or if it does all this, what are my current customer support? I'm not sure what the title is of the employee that
account managers, customer service reps typically.
Yeah. Okay, so it's both sides.
Yeah,
so,
it's like a different layer.
Yeah.
I guess within service, but the service team.
So essentially, if we onboard Everglades and Revive, what is my team going to do?
Yeah.
This sounds great, but what are they going to sit around and suck our thumbs? I tell them, well, hey, you can get on the social media bandwagon and have your Gen Zs, throw up some cutesy things on there. Yeah. This is great. Or you can just teach them to just train them.
Yeah.
Take some time, because your business devs and your front end salespeople and your customer support people, they just saved a ton of time. So take your expert off that team, have them train someone, or send them to training on how to use new tools outside of what we just provided. So after you see the ROI on using Revive and Everglades, you can then use that. Hopefully you reinvest into your company. You're going to reinvest that into your people, train the people that you trust the most that have shown up for your own company, and then let them invest into them, because that's going to go twofold. It's going to motivate them to be a better employee. And it's also going to pull them into your company more because they see the investment. I do that. I've done that with VAs. I said, hey, you're going to take 2 weeks and you're going to learn automation and AI.
Yeah.
And you're going to learn how to integrate an open API. You're going to learn prompting. And they're going to say, well, what does this mean? I was like, well, you're going to do this and you're going to do some scrub work, and then you'll have a raise if you keep up with it.
Yep.
And then they open their eyes, and it was like in the early days, and I was like, they opened their eyes, and I was like, yeah. They're like, nobody ever does this.
Yeah.
They told me. They said, I've been in VA work for years, and no business owner has ever given me this opportunity. And I'm like, well, we're fortunate enough to have, good clients that stay, and we have enough net revenue so I can invest in you this way, but I need you to have this finished within a timeline, X, Y, and Z. And it changes everything in your company. And the next thing you know, your meetings aren't about, checking in on timelines. You have motivated employees. That is more rare than ever.
Yeah.
And, I'm not one to harp on the whole, company culture is so important, because it could seem like a little mushy. You need to motivate your employees, and they need to be held to a high standard of performance. I get that.
Right.
But it really does make a difference coming from someone who was pushed by a very blue collar, father who said, hey, you get out there and you're going to work. Where are you at? Where's my mud? Where's my block? X, Y, and Z. I pushed wheelbarrows full of bricks through sugar sand, and said, yeah, that needs to go there. And, it sucked. And then, it's the same way with sales and customer reps. They're saying, okay, I want this list of 500. I want to have, 10 meetings next week. Yeah. If you're not, you're on review.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Yeah.
And
there are shops out there that are like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For sure.
And to be honest, that is the easy way out, right? As a leader, that's the easy way out, is to give them that. And if they break, they break. But if they follow through, you get your revenue, but that person just trained themselves to be a higher performer without any further buy-in into the company.
Right. Right.
And so,
yeah, that's really interesting.
So that is short-term success for long-term loss,
Yeah.
essentially. And
Yeah.
so, you can, and trust only goes a few different ways. Like, it's really only one way. Like, an impression that you give a person, especially once they've learned who you are, the more that you learn about a person, and the more that, they kind of like expect the same, but it's more impactful when they're surprised.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, and neither of us, right? But we wouldn't be in sales if we didn't understand human psychology.
Right.
And
It's a
so
huge part of it.
It's part of it. And being a leader, it's the flip side of it too, where you're dealing with employees that are not necessarily motivated by money.
Yeah.
That's right. So it's a double-edged sword, but
yeah, definitely.
Anyways, that was a rant. That was
No.
rant.
Some takeaways from that for me is, one, I think the hardest aspect of sales is getting the client, getting in the door. Right.
Yeah.
And this kind of solves for that.
Yeah.
Right. But the teams, like, some of these insurance agencies have, and these other organizations that are in sales, I mean, now you have that much more time to maintain and keep that relationship and build upon that relationship. Right. Which is where some of the staff would come into play.
Yeah.
Putting back on client engagement, but that take the hardest step away. Right. Because especially for new sales, for new salespeople that come in, right, whether they're commission only, they've got a little buy down base salary that goes away in 3 years, whatever that looks like, that's tough.
Yeah.
And it's also tough for agency principals or sales leaders to look at that and be like, are they doing enough? Because it takes time. It's building a book of business sucks.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But being able to offer, tech partnerships to really drive and accelerate that employee, it's going to change their mindset. It's going to change how they feel about coming to work. You're not going to get as discouraged, right? Like, why aren't people picking up the phone?
Yeah.
And instead it turns into like, hey, you've got onboarding tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thanks to Mia and,
yeah.
Kai,
Mia.
Yeah. So
Eli.
I think it's very important. I think that's where the shift could come. If you're an agency, I feel like every business wants to scale. They want to grow. They want to do it smart. You can go sign more clients, generate more revenue without having to build upon staff, right? You could scale in a way where the team now, from a sales to service perspective, is more client facing, client engaged.
Yes.
Than ever before, without having to continue to build more on. When we looked at building Everglades, my partner Jeremy said, typically on average, we did some research that, one account executive with us could manage 4,000 transactions per year. We built our platform to be able to handle 40,000, right? To automate the tech.
That's beautiful.
We did it so that we could still provide the customer service, which should be a given, right? It's like, we have to service our customers.
That's the cornerstone of business.
Although we built tech, right, and the platform that no one essentially needs to call us, right? Yeah. But if you have to, and there's an issue, we're there, and it's gonna be the same people every time. So that's why we did that. We'll never have, 10 floors of office space in a building downtown full of people doing data entry, because that's where customer service gets dropped. The tech allows us to be more efficient, right, and our clients to be more efficient.
Yeah.
So it's been very interesting navigating that and seeing this side of it compared to the, I came from the traditional insurance world when I first started, where it was a white press shirt, tie. Our boss, big mentor to me still to this day, would hand out paychecks every Friday. Right. Just old school. Great. Right.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And it was Main Street, just, this is the deal.
Beautiful.
And he'd also be up front, just like, where's so-and-so today? It's like, oh, well, we give everyone their birthday off. He's like, why the hell do we do that? Just a different generation,
Yeah.
But, it's times have shifted, times have changed. I don't see it slowing up.
I don't think so. It's honestly, it's pretty refreshing, you know, like coming from construction industry and making that shift, because I worked that and I was like, man, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to school. And I never wanted to manage a company and manage people like that.
Yeah.
The same way either, because I kind of feel guilty, right?
Yeah.
Like managing them, like owning a company, managing people. Everybody has their philosophy on sales, customer service, and also managing people.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that person that like kind of like plays games or anything like that. It doesn't, maybe I'm too honest, but it doesn't seem like the right way to go. And to me, building a company is like an entity. It has its own personality. And aside from the money, I would rather it be something that I could be proud of, especially this is kind of my first baby. The manufacturing was good, and it's kind of my cornerstone. I think maybe we'll get back to that one day, but right now Revive is the baby. So
I love it.
Yeah, that's cool. And I love what Everglades has, dude. The deep rooted. I love that symbolism. I'm big on symbolism. So
yeah, thanks. It's been a lot of fun, and we've got a good team, and we're excited to be on this side within the industry where kind of like your story and your background, how you kind of seen this firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
We were agents that literally built this to solve specific agent problems. We know,
you lived it. How long were you working in the
15 years?
You're 15 years. You're an agent. So you've seen it all. Yeah.
So I've seen it, and I've sat in every role from mom and pops regional to the national Fortune 500s, where I'm kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
But being able to be on this side of it where it's like, I get it. I challenge anyone out there, right? Go to next time your premium finance rep comes into your office and brings you the Publix cookies, ask them about if they know what you do. Like, have they ever sat in your chair? Like, do they know specifically what issues and inefficiencies that you're dealing with? Do they have a solution for it? Do they have a solution on how to be more efficient, generate sales quicker? Right? Mm-hmm. Generate leads, qualify leads. I mean, it's so much. And then you've also got, sales teams that are overqualifying, and now they're killing time.
Yeah.
Can your current partners, whether you have some sort of AI partnership built in currently,
mm-hmm.
can they, have they ever sat in the seat that you sit in before? Chances are no. Do they truly understand what your industry is? No, I guarantee it. But sales is sales, and
mm-hmm.
service is service. Right. It just so happens to be that this really solves a problem in such an outdated industry,
mm-hmm.
all industries.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's like, it's time to change it up.
I agree. I agree. Change up the fulfillment. And whenever you're working with any of the financiers, I imagine it needs to go a lot deeper than just the cookies that they bring up on every Monday or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Just take a bigger look. And I think that is the prime goal of this whole shift is take a better look at your company and understand who your vendors are, what they care about, look at your sales team and understand how are they operating. What are those small tasks on their day-to-day that's in that agenda that can be automated, that can be changed, that isn't necessarily that person-to-person interaction, but leads to that person-to-person interaction. And that's the most important part of our business.
That's right.
And so put that on a pedestal. Let's go ahead and automate all of those tasks.
Yeah.
And let's uncover all the gold that's in your CRM and understand how to reach more leads.
Yeah.
You need to understand what does your sales team know? Write it all out, make an SOP, and then deploy more generation.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of sales teams right now, they're trusting in their highest performers, which is great. And they're trusting those higher performers to kind of coach along others. But that's not what all sales teams do, and you can scale that.
The problem with that, I would see, is that the high performers have figured it out, and they've got a book of business.
Mm-hmm.
They've got referrals coming in. They've got qualified, legit centers of influence.
Mm-hmm.
But what about these guys also?
Yeah.
These guys don't have the time to train these guys, right?
They need a little bit of a lift.
They need some help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they don't have 15 years in the industry like you have, or there's just not a culture to be able to support them, give them a lift, automate all of their outreach, and let them start to handle themselves in a more professional and calm manner, so they're not sporadically reaching out to every lead possible.
Yep.
And dig up a lot more of the gold that's inside your CRMs. Check out Revive. it's humanized. It's great.
I love it. I love it.
But honestly, I think does that wrap up a lot of what we
Yeah.
want to cover?
Yeah. I think so.
Right on.